Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Over the weekend, there was one place to be if you're into food, produce, culture, and music. The annual St. Croix Agriculture and Food Fair kicked off on Saturday and continued through Sunday and Monday. And in spite of last year's challenges, the Big Island's farmers made a defiant showing. News 2's April Knight has that story.
The 45th annual St. Croix Agriculture and Food Fair did not disappoint. Thousands of people filled the fairgrounds over the weekend and Monday to celebrate the agricultural basis of Crucian life.
I want to ask all of you to not only think of agriculture during President's Day weekend, but think of agriculture daily. I invite you to engage in some level of crop, livestock, or ornamental production, regardless of your gardening knowledge and/or ability.
Farmers were out in full force, showing off an impressive array of fresh produce, plants, and other products to sell inside the Joan Nelson Farmers Market. The animals, of course, were a hit with the kids, but also with the older attendees who went to the Kenneth Henry Livestock Pavilion. There they found cows, goats, chickens, and ducks that have been sturdy regulars of the Ag Fair. It's a show of victory in itself, after being hit by one of the worst climate challenges they've ever experienced.
Last pit of dime has been very hard with the drought. To hear all these representatives talking about everything they're going to do for agriculture, it makes me feel good. We thank the Department of Agriculture. The feed program kept us from losing everything. We lost, but we didn't lose all.
Food is arguably one of, if not the most popular product at the Ag Fair, and while you can visit food stalls lining the road, there's also the Friedensfeld Moravian Church Pavilion that's packed with delicious local entrees and desserts. And you can't have agriculture without culture in there somewhere. The crowds were enlivened by musical selections and traditional dances. Through all of this, the message from organizers is agriculture should not only be celebrated these few days every year. For News 2, I'm April Knight.
During the opening ceremony, the AgriFest organizers also honored various individuals who made notable contributions to AgriFest over the years. Meanwhile, two major awards were announced at the Ag Fair. Farmers Edmund Tetry and Leroy Peets and their New Breed Farm won Crop Farmers of the Year. The 2016 Livestock Farmer of the Year award went to St. Croix farmer Stuart Drew, who successfully started his farm when he lost his job during the Hovenza closing in 2012.
Time on the farm is not easy. I leave in the morning at 5:30 when it's dark. I get back home when it's dark. I'd like to give a special thanks though to Farmer Commissioner Peterson for seeing the drive in us and awarding us the property to do the farming.
My husband, I can't be more proud of him. We have a weed eater, a machete, and a sickle. That's it. So everything he did, he earned.
Congratulations to the farmers. Now, local officials and entities also got a little something out of the opening ceremony of the Ag Fair. Organizers gave away some 2-foot-tall guava berry seedlings to Senate President Neville James, Governor Kenneth Mapp, innovative companies represented by Vice President Jennifer Matarangas King, Agriculture Assistant Commissioner Errol Chichester, and former Governor Turnbull. The recipients were given a friendly mandate to grow these guava berry seedlings and maybe share the fruits at a future St. Croix AgriFest. Governor Kenneth Mapp has returned 2 agreements for tax benefits to the Economic Development Authority for further review and reconsideration. By law, the governor has final approval over all applications for tax exemptions granted by the EDA. New applicant, one of the applicants, Amali Global, a financial services and consulting firm, sought 100% exemptions from property, gross receipts, and excise taxes, and a 90% exemption from payment of income taxes in exchange for employing 5 full-time employees for the first 4 years while making a $100,000 investment and donating $50,000 to the local charities in the first year. In his letter to EDA Acting Chief Executive Officer Wayne Biggs, the governor indicated that the promised employment was insufficient to the value of the tax holiday provided and that the economic benefits to the territory were unclear. In other news, Governor Mapp hosted a brief and informal meeting at Government House Sunday with visiting United States Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. That meeting was described as an opportunity to discuss matters of interest to the territory, which may involve congressional consideration. Immediately following, Governor Mapp accompanied Senator McConnell to a luncheon at the Old Stone Farmhouse, where he invited guests, and they were addressed by the senator, and their questions were entertained. The U.S. Senate Majority Leader stated that the Senate would not consider a U.S. Supreme Court nominee to succeed the late Justice Antonin Scalia until after the next president takes office. Senator McConnell was accompanied by his wife, Elaine Chao, a former Secretary of Labor during Bush administration. Well, last week, Thursday, we reported that Governor Kenneth Mapp spoke in front of the St. Croix Chamber of Commerce, where he said the outlook for the territory, especially St. Croix, is looking tremendously better. He tackled some major topics, but he also gave the other updates on operations of government. NEWS2's April Knight has more.
Sandy, on top of the unveiling of the Paul E. Joseph Stadium plans at that St. Croix Chamber of Commerce meeting, Governor Kenneth Mapp also addressed a few concerns from the audience, as well as gave updates on VIPD improvements and government hiring. According to the governor, since he took office, some 590 people were hired by his administration. On top of that, there are some 876 vacancies funded in the current budget.
I had directed the budget director to restore the cut or reduced allotments to the government departments and agencies, which now allow them to put their requisitions in for the filling of these jobs.
The VIPD's partnership with the NYPD is bearing fruit as well. This year, the VIPD will send its first 8 police officers to train with the New York Police Academy.
We're going to be sending 16 officers every year who will spend the entire 6-month period training at the NYPD. Our officers will be exposed to a great diversity of people in law enforcement, different backgrounds, different cultures, a different science, an upgraded science of policing.
There will also be an increase in the use of technology in battling crime, according to the governor, with an anticipated $1.5 to $2 million in surveillance cameras to be installed throughout the territory and a partnership with local businesses.
We are going to want a partnership with you and be able to allow the command center of the Virgin Islands Police Department to tie into your surveillance systems so that when we have incidences and issues, the VIPD will have an immediate insight in that particular area.
Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
Now, you may want to reserve a spot from now. Coming up in March, the St. Croix Chamber of Commerce will hold the Business and Professional Awards Gala at the St. George Village Botanical Gardens, 6 p.m. Saturday, March 12. The keynote speaker will be Senate President Neville James and guest speaker, Delegate to Congress Stacey Plaskett. On Saturday, February 20th, from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m., the operators of VIGL Operations, LLC, the new casino at the Caravel Hotel, they want to meet you and announce available openings for many positions on St. Croix. You may submit a resume and complete an application online or to a representative. Now, online, you can apply at the Department of Labor's website. Applications will be accepted until February 27th, 2016. Again, that fair is on Saturday, February 20th from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Innovative Building on St. Croix. Turn our attention overseas. The first Italian-American to sit on the nation's highest court, Justice Antonin Scalia, was a conservative and he passed away. He was a top student at a public and private Catholic school in the city. His interest in law began in college and an interest in Maureen McCarthy, who he later married and had 9 children. His exuberant embrace of conservatism attracted the attention of his Republicans, and President Reagan ultimately named the 50-year-old federal judge to the High Court in 1986. And there he quickly developed a reputation as a reliable conservative, and his own style helped liven the public face of the High Court. Well, the passing of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia in Texas over the weekend has sparked a fierce election year battle over whether or not President Barack Obama should appoint a successor. Within hours of the announcement that the conservative justice had died, Republican and Democratic leaders in Washington were feuding over who should choose Scalia's successor. Scott McLean joins us from Washington with the latest.
As condolences come in, battle lines also being drawn over Justice Antonin Scalia's replacement. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell quickly making clear he wants the next president to choose the new justice, with Republican presidential candidates following suit during Saturday's debate.
It's called delay, delay, delay.
I do not believe the president should appoint someone.
In California, President Obama acknowledging Scalia's death and promising to nominate a replacement soon.
I plan to fulfill my constitutional responsibilities to nominate a successor in due time. There will be plenty of time for me to do so and for the Senate to fulfill its responsibility to give that person a fair hearing and a timely vote.
Getting a nominee confirmed in this election year will be difficult, with Senator McConnell and his Democratic counterpart, Senator Harry Reid, already at odds. McConnell in a statement saying the American people should have a voice in the selection of their next Supreme Court justice. Reid pushing back, saying the Senate has a responsibility to fill vacancies as soon as possible. Without a majority in the Senate, the Democrats will need a handful of Republicans to break ranks, including some facing tough re-election bids this year. The Democrats already sharpening their line of attack.
I think first the American people don't like this obstructionism. When you go right off the bat and say, I don't care who he nominates, I am going to oppose him, that's not going to fly.
Keeping our eye on the economy, here's a look at the New York Stock Exchange with our Stock Market Watch. Everything up, the Dow 211, NASDAQ 70, S&P 500 up 27. Coming up on News 2, time for our Black History quiz, Moment in Black History. He was the first African-American justice to sit on the Supreme Court. Who are we talking about? That's coming up next. Welcome back. On Saturday, February 12th, turn our attention to crime report. At 4:31 a.m., the 911 emergency call center received a report of a break-in and attempted sexual assault in the LBJ Gardens housing community. The victim stated she'd been asleep in her residence when she was awoken by strange noises. She came in contact with a man she recognized because he resides within the neighborhood. The suspect then began to fondle the victim and attempted to initiate intercourse as she told him that she knew who he was and that she was going to phone the police. The suspect then fled. Alejandro Torres was located in an abandoned apartment, arrested and charged with first-degree burglary. He was remanded to the Bureau of Corrections. Senior District Court Judge Raymond Finch on February 11 sentenced Delroy Woods, 25 of St. Croix, to 21 months of imprisonment for possession of prison contraband. On October 9, 2015, Woods pleaded guilty to one count of possession of prison contraband. As part of his plea, Woods admitted that on May 7, 2013, while he was an inmate at the Golden Grove Adult Correctional Facility, he possessed a shank or homemade knife, which was hidden in the head of his mattress inside his cell. The case was investigated by the VI Bureau of Corrections and the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. On Friday, February 12th, Miguel Rodriguez Ramirez, 45, pleaded guilty in district court to bribery of a public official. According to the plea agreement filed with the court between July 2015 and December 2015, Ramirez bribed an undercover public official by paying the undercover public official to smuggle illegal aliens into the United States. Ramirez paid the undercover official a total of $12,080 to shepherd the illegal aliens through customs at the Cyril King Airport. District Court Judge Curtis Gomez continued Ramirez's status in official detention. A sentencing date has been set for June 12, 2016. Ramirez faces a maximum of 15 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. In other news, in a special meeting last week, the governing board of the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority approved the loan item on its agenda. It's authorized Acting Executive Director Julio Reimer to enter into 3 leases for commercial office space at Port of Sale Mall in St. Thomas. Reimer said the space at Port of Sale Mall is a newer, more suitable location for conducting business, and the location is close to the authority's executive offices, making it easier to conduct day-to-day business operations. Well, St. Croix District Administrator Stephanie Williams reminds you that there will be 2 town hall meetings in which residents can express community concerns and receive answers from representatives of various government agencies. And here are the dates right there, 5:30 p.m. to 7 on Wednesday, February 17th at Rotary West in Frederickstead, 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Wednesday, February 24th at DC Canagata Multipurpose Center. And residents of St. Croix will be able to present conditions and concerns to commissioners and directors of the Virgin Islands Police Department, the Department of Public Works, the Department of Labor, Department of Health, Division of Personnel, IRB, and VI Water and Power Authority, along with the Waste Management Authority. Here's another opportunity to get your concerns addressed. Our town, Frederickstead, and the Office of the Governor, in conjunction with government agencies, they're inviting you to a town hall meeting on Wednesday, February 17th at the Rotary West in Frederickstead from 5:30 to 7, again, open to the public. Department of Health's Acting Commissioner Juan Figueroa Seville and Dr. Michelle Davis, the Region 2 Director, is partnering with several clinics and labs to provide Zika virus testing at no cost to patients. Pregnant women and people who develop symptoms of Zika, which is fever, rash, joint pain, red eyes, should see their primary care provider to be evaluated for Zika virus testing. If your provider feels that testing is warranted, now you can contact the following locations there on the screen to arrange for testing, and they include St. Croix Beeston Hill Clinical Laboratory in Frederickstead Healthcare, Governor Juan Louis Hospital and Medical Center and Primary Care, and then on St. John, it's the Myra Keating Smith Community Health Center. On St. Thomas Community Medical Laboratory, Cranston Dotting Biomedical Lab, Doctors Clinical Laboratory, Havenside Medical Laboratory, and the Roy Lesher Schneider Hospital. The Virgin Islands Department of Health is also pleased to receive additional assistance, again at no cost to the territory, from the CDC in the form of a medical doctor. Dr. Dan Baden, a public health advisor, Ms. Darcy Benz. Now they joined CDC epidemiologist Jay Roth to assist the territory during the initial phases of the Zika virus. They will be working closely with Dr. Esther Ellis, the territorial epidemiologist, to curtail Zika. Well, he'll be remembered as a businessman, a philanthropist, and prisoner of war during World War II. Neil Weiss died Wednesday at age 92 on St. Thomas. Weiss owned Niski Center and Vitraco Mall, along with local businessman George Blackhall. Weiss has served as a bombardier in the U.S. Air Force during World War II. He spent 18 months in a German prisoner of war camp when his aircraft was shot down. Following a 10 a.m. service Sunday at Turnbull's funeral home, Neil Weiss will be buried at the Jewish cemetery on St. Thomas, and our condolences go out to the family. Now for a moment in Black history. He was the first African-American justice to sit on the Supreme Court. Born in Baltimore, Maryland on July 2, 1908, Thurgood Marshall was a grandson of a slave. His father, William Marshall, instilled in him from youth an appreciation for the United States Constitution. After completing high school in 1925, Thurgood followed his brother, William Aubrey Marshall, at the historically black Lincoln University in Chester County, Pennsylvania. Just before graduation, he married his first wife, Vivian Buster Bury. Their 25-year marriage ended with her death from cancer in 1955. In 1930, he applied to the University of Maryland Law School, but was denied admission because he was black. Thurgood sought admission and was accepted at the Howard University Law School that same year. Thurgood Marshall later became chief counsel for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. President John F. Kennedy appointed Thurgood Marshall to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. In this capacity, he wrote over 150 decisions, including support for the rights of immigrants. In 1965, President Lyndon Johnson appointed Judge Marshall to the office of the U.S. Solicitor General. Justice Marshall died on January 24th, 1993. Be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.